Hey guys, this is Craig Harris. I'm the editor-in-chief of the IGN DS channel, and I'm giving you a video review of Castlevania Portrait of Ruin for the DS. So in Portrait of Ruin, the year is 1944, and once again, the Dracula's Castle, it's appeared again, and now it's up to you to get rid of Dracula's Castle once again. Castlevania Portrait of Ruin is actually a follow-up to last year's Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. It streamlines a lot of the ideas that were created for Dawn of Sorrow. It removes a lot of the touchscreen elements, but keeps a lot of the stuff that worked, like the map on the upper screen that it's always there, which is extremely handy when you're going through the castle. Because the game actually builds off of what was created for Dawn of Sorrow, you'll notice the engine is very similar, and that's a good thing because the Dawn of Sorrow had some solid 2D graphics, really smooth sprite-based animations. So like Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin has some really awesome 2D graphics, but they've also thrown in a bit of 3D as well. So you'll notice in the backgrounds, you'll see like 3D castles and buildings and stuff like that. Very minimal, but it actually works pretty well. And of course, there's a huge focus on the audio as well. So you'll notice that the Portrait of Ruin soundtrack is just a fantastic, spooky and upbeat kind of Castlevania-style soundtrack. They've also given characters a lot of voice as well, though there's not a whole lot of voice samples, so the story will unfold through text instead of spoken dialogue. So in Portrait of Ruin, you play as two characters. You play as Jonathan Morris, who is the usual Castlevania hero. He wields the whip, and you can actually pick up other weapons and use them in the game. And then there's Charlotte, who's a user of great magical powers. She can pull off a lot of these really cool tricks and stuff like that work really well against the enemy onslaught that's in the castle. Now in Portrait of Ruin, you actually control one character at a time, but you can actually bring both of them together, have the computer control the other character when you're not using them. And in some cases in the castle, there will be puzzles where you need both characters at the same time, kind of like a Lost Viking style thing where you need one character to sit on a certain place and use the other character to shove them in the way. Now the potential is there for some really cool gameplay mechanics, but realistically they didn't really use it to their advantage. There's not a whole lot of puzzles in the game that actually use both characters, so when you actually go through Portrait of Ruin, you're really only using one character at a time, and in fact you'll probably only use Jonathan about 95% of the time, which is cool because it's a Castlevania game, but it's sort of a letdown because this game offers a lot of potential with the two characters and it never really reaches it. The other hook in Portrait of Ruin is the idea that there are these evil portraits in different parts of the castle, and these portraits actually hold a whole new world that you actually have to explore to defeat the castle. There are 4 different portraits. There's one that actually takes you to a psycho circus with these killer clowns. It's kind of cool. There's also one that takes you to the Sahara, where you actually have to go through Tutankhamun's pyramid. And these portraits actually give the designers a lot of leeway to create these really cool environments that aren't restricted to the castle itself. The portraits actually have levels that are about as deep as some of the sections in past Castlevania games, so these portraits actually beef up Portrait of Ruin's length to probably more than double what Dawn of Sorrow was. But overall, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin follows that fun Castlevania formula to a T, and it actually ranks as one of the top Castlevania games, even if it isn't quite as creative as Dawn of Sorrow was when it came out last year. So like last year's Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin actually has a multiplayer mode. The multiplayer is kind of built off of what Dawn of Sorrow offered last year, where you go through a boss rush. All the bosses that you encounter in the game, you can actually battle them in an arena type fashion and see how fast you can defeat them one after the other. Because Portrait of Ruin has 2 characters that you control in the single-player adventure, you would hope that the game's multiplayer would give the ability to have a second player take control of that other character while you're going through the castle as well, but unfortunately that's not the case, and it's kind of a missed opportunity. That said, the multiplayer is actually kind of cool because not only can you play this locally with other players, you can actually go online using the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection and do the boss rush mode with people that you might meet randomly or with their friends code. So with all that said, even though the game plays it safe, Portrait of Ruin is still one of the great Castlevania games, and it's well-deserved the 8.9 I gave it in my review. So go ahead and check out that review on IGN.com.